I am so frustrated with the constant chatter about China. Now, I'm not saying that there's nothing wrong with China, but a lot of the things that China does, America has done and is doing as well. So it's not like we're innocent. I mean, maybe us individually are innocent, but as a country and the government and businesses in particular are absolutely not innocent of the type of behavior that China is often being criticized for. And if you look at China's history, for a long time, China was one of the most advanced countries in the world. Was it perfect? No. Did it have plenty of issues? Absolutely. But at some point, the Western world invaded Asia and basically took over country after country. They brought Japan to its knees through a combination of violence and economic hardship. They did the same thing to China in combination with getting the problem of opium to be so widespread in China that the military was largely addicted and couldn't defend China from the English. And the Dutch did similar things to Indonesia and basically most of the countries in Asia and South America and Africa and North America. The peoples of these continents suffered immensely because of the greed of the European and nations, including, of course, Russia, which is both European and Asian. And America has carried on in that grand, insidious tradition for a very long time, self-proclaiming, "Oh, we're the guardians of freedom and all that," but while simultaneously taking away freedom and stacking the deck and robbing nations of their wealth without creating colonies. It's just a shadow empire, I guess you could say. So having China play the same exact game and being condemned by America is really very hypocritical. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you think I'm just blowing smoke up your, you know what? Well, then obviously you haven't been paying attention to history and you should go and learn about it. But from hundreds of years ago until now, China has largely been under the thumb of Europe and America. Granted, during World War II, when Japan was invading China, we did help them out. And that was a good thing. We needed to help them out because the more control Japan had over China and Korea and Indonesia and the Philippines and all these other nations, the worse it was for that part of the world. So it was not an altruistic move. It was a necessary, selfish, I guess you could say, move in order for the greater good, and also for America's dominance to continue. But this current issue of China becoming so very, very powerful. Now, China's had over 1 billion people for decades now. But it wasn't particularly concerning because they were very far behind us in many ways. So what happened? Well, this is what happened. America started to decide, well, we need to increase our profits and decrease our expenses. So let's export our jobs to other nations. And they exported to all kinds of different nations, including Canada and Mexico, and also to Australia and Indonesia. And the list goes on and on and on. The difference is that this was often subsidized by politicians. Politicians encouraged and supported businesses to outsource and also to move their factories overseas. They were given huge amounts of incentives through cash and tax breaks and stuff in order to be able to set up their shops overseas, and even including in China. And as a consequence of these moves, America lost a lot of buying power. It, I believe, probably contributed to inflation rates. It certainly contributed towards America's inability to be able to earn enough money to keep up with inflation and the rising cost of living. And it also, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on your viewpoint, helped make China more and more powerful as it gained riches, because previously it was not doing very well. But with the influx of all these American and European businesses opting to set up shop in China, despite all the regulations, all the rules of China that make it somewhat disadvantageous, the result is that these companies save money and were able to give their investors more money. Now, investors typically don't look at the consequences. I mean, the American government certainly hasn't looked at the consequences of their actions over the years. I mean, if you look at the Philippines, you look at Iran, you look at Afghanistan, you look at any of a number of other nations, Myanmar, Cambodia, Vietnam, and so on. The consequences for America and also the world, because of America's meddling in other countries' affairs, have been immense and ongoing, and have frequently caused backlash for America. And if you're not paying attention to history, you won't know what I'm talking about. But if you've been paying attention, and there are lots of resources out there that make it easy for you to discover this, you'll learn that America has set things up to help America, with the eventual consequence that that nation or that group of people got so fed up that they rose up against America and created a hostile situation for America. And America was disadvantaged by that. And then America blamed that nation for what America did. So for America to sit here and, oh, China this and China that, and China's horrible and China's awful, well, that's because of what America and other nations have historically done to China. And then to send all your jobs and the money that goes with the jobs to China, a communist nation, when people are always so worried about that sort of thing, well, it's just kind of like the stupid stick you just kept on hitting yourself with the stupid stick. It's just ridiculous. And then to complain about it, that here's China suddenly very powerful, able to take control of ports around the world, able to take control of most of the rubber tree plantations in the world, and have great power over the certain types of chips that are needed for cars and computers and stuff like that, to the point that it's becoming a problem for car manufacturers. Well, whose fault is that? Who made China so powerful? We did. America did. Europe did, by putting all those businesses in China and making. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm happy that the Chinese are more affluent than they used to be. But did you really think that a company that had been shit on by the Western world for centuries would just say, oh, thank you so much for giving us all these jobs and all the extra income. We're going to use it to make the world a better place for everybody. Oh, thank you. Thank you. No. They want revenge. They want power. They're tired of America calling all the shots. They're tired of America dominating so many things in a way that disadvantages entire countries. Now, granted, it's not all America's fault that there are countries that are being exploited by America but aren't benefiting. It isn't entirely America's fault that American corporations will go into foreign nations that are underdeveloped and rape that nation of its resources and make promises to the public and not keep those promises and pad the pockets of corrupt politicians. But America's government is partially responsible. And So for us to point the finger at Xi Jinping or whatever his name is, the dictator of China, because he is a dictator and he's setting things up so that he will be a dictator for life, just like so many other dictators do. It's our fault. We, to a large degree, have and continue to, by buying products made in China, support both the Chinese economy, the Chinese people, but also the political system of China, the pseudo-communist system that, on the one hand, has the elite of China being able to do whatever they please, and on the other hand, well, everybody else who doesn't step into line gets treated by the Uyghurs, like the Uyghurs have been treated, and other ethnic groups that the Chinese government doesn't like, or any group in China that protests. And right now there are a lot of protests going on, and the people who are protesting are suffering the consequences of their protests because the Chinese government has been heavy-handed for a very long time now, and it's not getting better. Personally, if I were looking at finding a job overseas, I wouldn't go to China. And it's not because I don't want to help China become a better nation. It's because it's too risky. I mean, who knows what's going to happen? There's that Women's Basketball Association Griner who went to Russia a few years ago with some cannabis oil, CBD oil vials, and is in jail for 9 more years for possessing marijuana. It's all trumped up because, sorry, not in China, in Russia. It's all trumped up because it's a political statement by Russia to show that Russia has control and can, do what they want to foreign citizens who are foolish enough to come into their country with something that even vaguely resembles an illegal substance. CBD oil is not the same as marijuana. So we can also look at history and say that part of the problem with Russia being the way it is and attacking the Ukraine is because of promises made and broken that have upset Putin. Now, does that justify what he's done? No, it doesn't. He could have certainly worked with the Ukraine to negotiate passage through Crimea to be able to access the ports there for the purpose of trading his goods. But he instead decided, well, I'm not satisfied with having northern Atlantic ports that freeze over sometimes. I'm going to have those ports as well, and I'm going to take them by force. And now I'm going to take the rest of Ukraine as well because I don't want the Ukraine to join NATO. Whatever the real reasons are, we're partially at fault because of not honoring promises and behaving heavy-handedly and behaving hypocritically. When I say we, I mean really the government of America and the businesses of America, as well as Europe. So if you're going to point the fingers at China, you should first point the fingers at the decisions of politicians and businesses in America and in Europe, and probably other places as well. So please, just stop. The monster has been created by us. We are Dr. Frankenstein. And it's Frankenstein's monster, so to speak. I mean, metaphorically. Obviously, it's a nation of people just like every other nation, and there are good people and there are bad people, and it happens that there's a dictator in charge. And people who don't want that dictator to be in charge don't have enough power to get rid of him, just like they don't have enough power to get rid of Putin. So please, if you have any thoughts on this, I would love to hear your thoughts as long as you're going to be civil about it. You don't have to, be like nicey nice, but be civil about it, because if you're going to be rude about it, if you're going to insult me or something like that, there are 3 options that I have, and I have no fear about using any of them. I will delete your comment, I will report you to Facebook, and or I will have you banned from my channel. So, if you want your comments to be seen and read by people other than just me, be civil, make good points, back up your opinion with research, or don't write anything at all. Thanks so much for watching, and hope you have a great day.